to Munger, Oklahoma. I also have the Tenney book showing that they came here. And it goes back to England, Raleigh, England, in the 15th century. Now, the Lincoln County History just published a county history. I've got 2 articles in there on the town of Parnell, Payson, and something else.
Okay. Good. Today is February 2nd.
February 2nd,
1989.
1989.
My name is Joe Todd, and this is an interview with Charles Wesley Sutton in Oklahoma City. And you live in Oklahoma City?
I was born at 1335 Northeast 11.
When's your birthday?
June the 30th,
Of what year?
1911.
1911. Who was your father?
Leon Paul Sutton.
And your mother?
My mother was Emma Parnell. No, wait a minute. Lena Parnell.
Lena.
Or Lena Sutton.
Parnell. How you spell her maiden name?
Oh, what's your now? Parnell?
Yeah.
Parnell.
Okay. And where were your parents from?
My father, the Sutton line, I've traced him back to the census of 1850. Was born in New York. He married Nancy Jane Tenney. And there is a family history published by Professor Tenney, of which I have a reprint of. He grew up in Iowa, North Washington, Iowa. The grasshoppers ran him out up there during the grasshopper plague, and he came to Oklahoma in Oklahoma Territory in 1890.
How did he travel to Oklahoma?
I don't have the least idea. I think he flew down here. He settled on the south, or had bought, I think, a homestead stake to the southeast quarter section of 36th and North Bud Douglas Boulevard in Oklahoma City now. I have his patent, application for patent, and gives a legal description. He had 5 children. My father, Leon Paul, was the 4th. After Dad grew up, he and his brother Frank had a hardware store at Parnell, Oklahoma, which was later changed to Payson. He saw my mother and married her. I have their marriage license, wedding story, and all.
When were they married? What year?
1905, I believe. It's either 5 or 7.
How far was the town of Parnell from Chandler?
About 14 or 15 miles.
Well, they
It's about 2 miles north of Meeker, and about 2 miles east of Meeker, which was his original homestead. He sold the north half of it to the Quapaw Land Company, and they platted, and I have a copy of the plat, Parnell, Oklahoma. The railroad had another town of Parnell on their line, and made him change the name to Payson, of which I have the copy of the letter.
Was Parnell named after your mother's family?
Yes, after William Carlisle Parnell.
That's your grandfather?
That's my grandfather.
Now, who was Payson?
I don't have the least idea. Oh yeah, he was son-in-law or a relative of this railroad official and made him change it to Payson.
Was your family living in Parnell in 1897?
Which family?
Or either one?
The Parnell side of the family was. The Suttons lived out here from 1890, and the land is still part of it in the family.
The reason I'm asking, the tornado of 1897 that hit Chandler. Any stories about that?
I know nothing of that.
Okay.
My mother would, but
Yeah.
she's not here.
Yeah. What type of work your father did?
He was, my birth certificate shows he was a salesman. He had a bad leg, and there's only one doctor in town that would treat it and not cut it off. While he was recuperating, I understand he took a correspondence course and became a civil engineer.
And
He retired from the engineering business about 1925 or 6, something like that.
what did he do in the engineering business? What?
Peckham, Sutton, and James, civil engineers.
Located in
Consulting, located on Grand and Harvey.
What did
Just-
they do?
Do what?
What did they do? What kind of work did they do?
He was a consultant engineer. I carried brick that were put, that is just to say so, as a boy about 8 years old, that paved the main street of Edmond. He did consulting work for the sewer system for the city of Norman. He also did consulting work for, that is his firm, for several towns in eastern Oklahoma.
When were the streets in Edmond paved?
Do what?
When did they pave the streets in Edmond?
That street was paved, let's see, 1911, about 1919.
1919.
1918, 19 or 20, something like that.
You said that you remember when they built the Capitol building here?
Not when they actually constructed it. I remember seeing it afterwards. There were big granite boulders laying out in the Capitol yard.
And what year was that?
I don't have the least idea. I don't know when they built it. Now in about 1927 or 28, the airport was out here just east and south of this building.
What was the name of that airport?
Oh, that wasn't any name, it was just a landing strip.
And where was it located?
What?
The airport. Where was the location?
Right just behind this building. My car's probably parked on it.
And how long was the strip?
I would say about 3 or 4 blocks at the most.
And it started where?
No, it went north and south.
And how far north did it?
This was about the north end of it.
About what, 19th? About what, 19th Street?
No, I'd say 21st, 20th or 21st.
Who used the airport?
Just private people. In 1928 and 29, there was a stubby. I worked for Dow Drug at 13th and Lottie. I knew this stubby, and he had this old World War I biplane. And I made several trips up and around and landed back in here.
So you had a pilot's license?
I don't know whether he had a pilot's license or not.
What
He
about
must
you?
have.
Did you fly?
I didn't know. Oh, I was 16, 17 years old.
Who owned the airstrip?
I don't have the least idea. I imagine it belonged to J.J. Culbertson, Sr. from Paris, Texas.
And how long did the airstrip last here?
I don't have the least idea. I just remember the times that I flew out of it or something like that. In fact, the streetcar line used to run up Lincoln Boulevard, or up, what's the street out here just east of Lincoln Boulevard?
Lindsay?
Ran up Lindsay to the Capitol, turned east and went to Lottie, south on Lottie to 13th and back. In the morning it ran to the Capitol. In the evening it ran around the other way and from the Capitol downtown.
Now, was the airstrip just about on Lindsay, where Lindsay is now?
I would say so.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I didn't measure it or anything like that.
Was the airstrip there at the same time the governor's
The
mansion?
Capitol, no, they built the governor's mansion much later.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Culbertson, who was he?
He's a man, all I know. Very wealthy.
And he was from Paris, Texas?
Paris, Texas was his hometown.
How did he make his fortune?
I don't have the oil and cotton gins, oil, and so on. I don't know too much about it. You can find out from my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
It's her grandfather,
What's her name?
Mrs. William James Sutton, lives in Nichols Hills. Her name was Florence Potter before she was married to my brother.
Did you know Mr. Culbertson?
I've seen him, but I didn't know him to speak to him, and I don't remember him.
Yeah.
Now I remember Dr. Potter, Florence's father, and Byron Potter, her brother. In fact, I saw Byron here not long ago. He lives here in the city, out in Glenbrook Terrace.
Could you give me a good description of Oklahoma City from your childhood? What downtown looked like in those years?
To the best of my memories, Main Street, about like it was. It didn't have the Halliburton building, the Kerr building, the Criterion was there in 28.
Who built the Criterion?
I don't know.
And how long was
Pat
this?
McGee, not Pat McGee, but Pat somebody was manager. The Empress was across the street from it. Bill Warren was with the Liberty. They built the Midwest building. No, can't remember. The Empress is over on Robinson, south of Maine. Grand Avenue was about, it was more downtown Oklahoma City than Main Street was for my first remembrance.
Where did Grand Avenue, it extended to where? Did it circle Oklahoma City?
No, the Grand Avenue stopped at, well, the railroad, Santa Fe Railroad, cut it in two. You couldn't go through on it. And then it went west, clear to Western, or the dirt road. It just paved. That was the old, now California was the street south of Grand, and that was the old public market, farmer's market.
Was Delmar Garden still going?
Yes, but I don't remember it. I remember where it was,
Yeah.
and I've seen the portals. that is, that they had built out in front.
What did they look like, the portals?
I can't remember.
What about Belle Isle?
Belle Isle, yes. I used to go to Belle Isle all the time in 28 and 29. After getting off work, we'd ride our motorcycles out there. We used to go out there to the dance hall, boating, fishing, and so on.
What was Belle Isle? What?
Just a big pond.
Now, was there actually an island called Belle Isle in the pond?
No.
Okay. And was there an amusement park or?
There was an amusement park there, yes.
And why did Belle Isle close?
Damn if I know.
You know what year?
No, not exactly. I'd say during the Depression.
You said that Grand Avenue is more of a main street.
To me it was.
Why?
More of a main street than Main Street is today. And Main Street isn't anything today.
Yeah. Why was Grand Avenue more of a main street?
Well, because the town started in California, Grand Avenue, and Main Street. First Street, Second, and Third.
Now, what about the Grand Avenue that circles Oklahoma City?
That's Grand Boulevard.
That's Grand Boulevard. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay. What'd you do for recreation in the early days?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Got drunk.
Where'd you get your whiskey?
Where'd I get it?
Yeah.
25 cents a pint down on south of 7th Street, just almost to Eastern.
What, bootleggers?
Bootleggers.
Did you go to them to get the whiskey or
Oh,
did
yes.
they deliver it?
No.
Did they make it or was it bonded whiskey
No,
shipped in?
a bonded hell no is moonshine.
Who's the biggest moonshiner around here?
I don't know now. Stanley Rogers, I'd say he was the ex-sheriff. In fact, I'm told that as a baby, I wet and took the crease out of his trousers. My family and his family were good friends.
What was his name?
Stanley Rogers.
Stanley Rock. Where did he have his still?
Do what?
Where did he have his still?
I don't have the least. Well, he didn't have it still.
No, he didn't.
He just made raids and confiscated it and then sold it, like they're doing now.
Is that who you bought your whiskey from?
No, I bought it from this colored man down there.
What was his name?
I don't have the least idea. Couldn't even tell you what the house looked like now.
So was he ever raided?
Hell no, they didn't raid people very much in those days.
What about the river down here, the North Canadian,
What
by
about it?
Oklahoma City? What about floods in that river?
I've seen the water almost up to California Street, but now what year I don't remember.
Now I understand they straightened the river out down here at one point.
Beyond my knowledge, I don't know.
Where'd you start school?
When did I start?
When and where?
Culbertson High School in kindergarten. Not Culbertson High School, but Culbertson School in kindergarten. Through the 6th grade. From the 6th grade to the 9th grade, through the 9th grade to Webster Junior High. From the 10th grade through the 12th grade, Central High School. I graduated in 1929, May of 1929.
From Central High School.
Central High School.
Who is principal?
C.W. Gethman. Helen Ferris was the assistant principal, and she couldn't fit in this chair.
Did you like Central?
I didn't know anything else.
Have you been there since they restored the building?
No, I'm not inside.
Yeah.
telephone company now owns.
Yeah.
I understand that one of my uncles was born at the southeast corner of 7th and Robinson, where Central High School now stands.
What's his name?
Ed Parnell. He's dead.
Besides getting drunk, what did you do for recreation?
Oh, well, I don't know what years.
Oh, when you were, a teenager?
Teenager. All right. We went to Spring Lake, Blossom Heath. The swimming pool out in that area. It's not Sand Springs, but Shepherd Lake.
See, Blossom Lake?
No, Blossom Heath.
Blossom Heath.
It was a dance hall on 39th.
39th.
Just where I don't know out there.
What was at Spring Lake in those years?
Wonderful.
I mean, was it that an amusement park?
It was
back then?
built before those years.
Now, was there actually a spring out there, a Spring Lake?
Don't ask me. I don't know. Do I have a spring in my backyard? I'm the same way.
After they had called it Spring Lake.
All right. I'm sure there was a spring out there.
What'd you do Saturday night?
Don't remember. Nothing important.
Do you remember World War One?
I remember when it was over.
Tell me about that day, Armistice Day.
The only thing I remember is that I bought a bunch of papers and went up down the street hollering extra and sold the papers.
Did you have a paper route at that
No.
time? 1920s. The many flappers in Oklahoma City.
I don't have the least idea.
What about in Central High School? Did the girls wear the short dresses and bob their hair?
I don't remember. I was only about 7 or 8 years old in 1920.
The Depression, 1930s. What'd you do?
Helped look after my family's real estate.
You still work at the drugstore at that time?
I worked at the drugstore up until about drugstore and Safeway, grocery store up till through 29. We did not have a depression in Oklahoma till about 1934 to 35.
Why?
Because they were drilling the oil field here.
And
In fact, I went out to when they brought in the first gusher in the Oklahoma City oil field.
is that the Mary Sudic? The one that blew?
No, the one before that. The first well they drilled.
Oh, the Discovery well.
Discovery well. And since my father was raised out in that area, I came home that night and I said, Dad, they struck oil out there, out east of town. He said, I don't believe it. And I said, well, it cost you a suit of clothes because I just ruined. Jay Dwyer that lived next door in the real estate business tried to sell him a farm out there and he didn't want it. Now his sister lived out there, Mrs. George Pecure.
How deep are those oil wells?
Do what?
How deep are those wells?
8,000 to 10,000 feet. Now when Bill Murray closed it down, I was in the National Guard.
You were? When did you join the National Guard?
About 1928.
And what unit?
You what?
What unit did you join?
I was with the 159th Hospital Company, 120th Medical Unit.
Why did he close the oil field?
because oil was selling at 10 cents a barrel. And I damn near killed a man over it.
What happened?
He had put a device on the well to where they couldn't close it in. It kept still running, producing oil. Filled up all the tanks. It was on Southwest 6th, about a block east of the railroad track, Santa Fe. And I had a detail of about 3 men. While they were up, they were going to uncap it, find out why they couldn't shut it in. And this Peacock, who owned the well, drove up, got out of his car, and I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going up the well." I said, "No, you're not." He said, "Well, I'll show you." And I said, "Well, you'll get a slug in your back if you do." I just pulled out 45 off my hip. And I didn't have any more sense than I'd have shot him.
Did he leave?
No. He then came back and he said, "Well, you send somebody up to talk to Colonel Murray and tell him I'm here, I want to see him." I said, "Certainly." So I called one of the boys over and I said, "Go up and tell Colonel Murray that Mr. Peacock is here and wants to talk to him." And he brought back permission for me to let Peacock through.
What year was that?
I believe in 1930. Bill Murray was governor. Cicero Murray was his National Guard chief. And my uncle was his Carlisle Parnell was his adjutant. That's how come me to be getting the oil field. It was in September, because I got a call to report out to the field, and I drove down Eastern and the state fair was on, and the cops stopped me because I wouldn't obey their signals, and I told them if they wanted to arrest me, I'd arrest them, because it was all under
Martial law.
Martial law.
Where was your unit?
10th and Broadway, west side of the street. Captain Barecki was the captain.
And how long did you stay in the oil fields?
Oh, I was out there about 2 months, I guess.
Did you stay there the whole time?
Oh no, I lived at home. I just report out there of an evening.
Any other incidents that you can recall besides Mr. Peacock in the oil fields?
Yes, I was out at headquarters one night. Messina Murray came in, Bill Murray's son. He's a lieutenant. Threw down a sack and started laughing, and the sack was a dead dog. I think he was drunk, but I don't know.
How did you shut down the wells? What did you have to do?
I didn't do anything. They shut them down. I reported maybe a well or two that was flowing. But what they did about it was none of my business.
Yeah. So was there any really bad confrontations between the oil fields, the
Not
workers,
to my
and the
knowledge.
National Guard? And how long did the field stay shut down?
No, I don't know. The records will prove it.
Yeah. What about the bridge down here?
What bridge?
Then by Durant, when Governor Murray called out the National Guard.
I
to
don't
close
know
the
anything
bridge?
about that.
Okay. Was that the only time you were called up?
I wasn't called up. I volunteered.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to pay.
Any other time that you volunteered to go?
No. And since my uncle was the commander in charge, he was later with the Corporation Commission. And Cicero lived about a block and a half from me. He had a daughter. I dated him. I was in their home many times. I was out in the mansion many times.
Describe Bill Murray.
He's hard to describe. My sister had a girlfriend that she was putting her husband through medical school, and Letty came out to the Capitol looking for a job. Bill Murray's door was open. His secretary was at the desk. She ambled into his office and looked up. Bill looked up. "What the hell do you want?" Well, this Letty was a little hot-tempered too. She's none of your damn business. And walked around and walked out. He said, "Hey, come back here." "What do you want?" She says, "I'm looking for a job." "What can you do?" "Well, I can this and that." I wasn't there. He says, "When do you want to go to work?" She says, "I can go to work right now." She says, "You're hired." Now, that's the only description I have of him. I've been into the mansion and saw the bathtubs filled full of paper and water, destroying them.
Paper and water?
Well, ledger sheets and so on. In other words, he'd take these ledger sheets or whatever they were, throw them in the bathtub and wet them down to destroy them.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I've said I've seen that.
I heard that he had part of the lawn plowed up and planted potatoes.
If he did, I didn't see it.
Okay.
I've heard the same story.
Okay. As Mr. Jenkins used to work here, working with the mansion when Murray was governor. How long were you in the National Guard?
About 2 years.
Ever considered going to California in the Depression?
No.
So what did you do? How did that Depression affect you and your family?
Well, it didn't have a whole lot of effect on it. Dad had poor health. He more or less retired and looked after a bunch of his rental property, remodeling and so on. And I helped him.
So you survived the Depression fairly well then?
I would say we did.
World War II, what'd you do?
I was a Douglas aircraft.
Right here. Was that here in Oklahoma City or Tulsa?
Oklahoma City. When they built it. I went to work out there about 2 months before they opened the plant.
What'd you do?
I was a time and motion study.
What is time and motion?
Checking to see how long it took to make a certain part, how many parts we needed, how many people we needed, and what machines were needed to make that part, of which I had very little knowledge to do.
What airplanes did they build in here?
C-47.
C-47. Why did they build the airfield here? Any idea?
I don't have any idea. Tinker Field was there.
Yeah. Now, when it was first opened, was it called Tinker Field when it was first opened?
I don't recall. I think so, but I don't recall.
Yeah. I know it's named after Clarence Tinker, who was killed at the Battle of Midway.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you do? Was there a big celebration when the war ended? World War II?
No. I left.
When'd you leave?
Well, the day it was over.
Where'd you go?
Went home. they offered me a job to stay with them, and I said, hell no, I've had all you prune pickers I want.
Prune pickers?
Yeah. California. In fact, my supervisor for a while went to work from WPA to Douglas and was transferred here as supervisor.
Did you do any work for WPA or CCC?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't of the upper class, but I was from a moderate, well-to-do class.
What did you do after the war?
After the war, I worked with the Liberty Plan Company for a while, and then the famous Selected Investment for a while, and then I bought Capital Typewriter Partnership.
What year?
Then later I bought it on out.
What year did you first go into partnership?
I think in about 1945 or 46.
And what type of typewriter did you have? What brand did you carry in those years?
Smith, well, portables, they didn't have any of the big machines. Portables, repair work, office supplies, and so on.
When did you get your first electric typewriter?
Oh, 46, 40, somewhere around a couple, 3 years after 46.
And what brand was it?
Well, it's used IBM.
IBM?
At that time, you couldn't buy anything from IBM. Then they had a Supreme Court ruling from somebody in Georgia that made IBM and the other companies sell them to their dealers and parts.
And how long did you have the typewriter company?
About 30, 35 years.
And where's it located?
212 North Harvey.
Is it still there?
No, I finally retired, made a mistake and sold it to a person. They bled it dry and took bankruptcy, and I lost my shirt.
You mentioned someone in your family helped move the Sac and Fox Indians.
According to my mother, her grandmother and her husband, Isaac Goodall, and Isaac Clary, and Mary Catherine Clary, helped bring the Sac and Fox Indians to Indian Territory.
From where?
From Kansas.
Kansas.
I don't know, that Isaac Clary was a blacksmith.
Any stories that your mother related to you about moving the Indians down?
Not particularly about moving the Indians down, no.
Just relate some stories she did tell you that you can recall.
Oh, not anything in particular, except that her grandmother helped bring the Sac and Fox Indians and later married Isaac Goodall, who was, I think, descended from an Indian maiden in Wisconsin, of which there's an article in the Oklahoma Chronicles. I have it in my files.
Who was Isaac Goodall?
He was a half-breed Indian and interpreter of the cry.
Sac and Fox?
Sac and Fox. According to my mother, he was one of the chiefs, but I don't think that is correct.
Where did he live in Oklahoma?
The Sac and Fox Agency, and then, Mary Lee just got me up the papers in there. Then Granddad, who was a cowboy out here by Spencer, in the fall, it was getting chilly. He says, boys, they're sitting around the campfire. He says, boys, I'm getting tired of this life. I'm going back to marry Arkansas and marry the first eligible white woman I see. Now, he told me that personally. I don't know whether he's kidding or not. Apparently, he rode into the Sac and Fox agency, saw my grandmother, and I have their marriage license issued Shawneetown, 1866.
What is the difference between Shawneetown and Shawnee?
Same thing.
Same thing.
I guess. I don't know.
You know Jim Thorpe?
My mother went to school with him. He went to Haskell Institute, same time she did. From there to Carlisle, I understand.
Did your mother relate stories about Haskell?
Not too much. Now, she was a very good friend in later years, say in 1936, with a Mrs. Harry Gilstrap, who had been the former Indian commissioner over there in the First Christian Church here in Oklahoma City.
Tell me about the Gilstraps.
I don't know anything about them.
Ever do any farming?
No.
No.
Oh, next door on the vacant lot.
Would you tell me again the name of the drugstore where you worked?
Dow Drug. John Dow.
John Dow. What were your duties there? What was your job?
I was a soda jerker, car hop and soda jerker.
Now, what does a soda jerker do back in those years?
Mixed soft drinks.
How do you mix a soft drink?
Well, to make a Coca-Cola, you gave it a squirt of Coke, put some ice in the glass, and carbonated water. To make a malt, you put some ice cream in a can, poured some milk in it, a little bit of malt, put it on the mixer.
Did all your soft drinks come in that way you had to mix them?
Oh, yes. The soda fountain.
What other soft drinks did you have besides Coke?
Oh, limeade, orangeade, malts, milkshakes, sundaes, ice cream.
Was Coke the only soft drink of that type that
To
you
my
carried?
knowledge.
Didn't have
Yes.
Dr. Pepper or Pepsi
No.
or any of those? Okay. Where did you get your Coke syrup?
Damn if I know. I got to have a jug.
Because I understand that's a very well-kept secret.
I don't know whether they bought it from Coca-Cola, Alexander Drug, or what.
And what all did you sell in the drugstore?
I was a soda jerker and car hop.
So you had a drive-in too?
Yes, in fact, we had an orchestra, colored orchestra, and we'd have 15 or 20 cars parked outside listening to the orchestra and drinking and eating ice cream.
What was the name of the orchestra?
Hell, I don't know.
What, they're just local people?
Just a bunch of colored people.
How much were they paid, or do you know?
I don't have the least idea.
Yeah.
Penny Drug had the same thing. They were on North Walnut.
What years was that?
27, 28, 29, 30.
What kind of music did they play? The black groups.
Noise.
Well, what else? Were all the streets in Oklahoma City paved when you
Oh,
were?
hell no. I remember May Avenue, a dirt street.
When is it paved?
I don't know.
What were the streets like when it rained?
Muddy.
Mud. Have trouble crossing them?
Well, crossing them how? Walking?
Yeah.
I didn't walk them.
You didn't. But you have a car, a motorcycle.
Well, I didn't have a motor. John Dow had a motorcycle. I used to ride it, and then the 2 or 3 boys around there.
What brand was it?
Harley Davidson, one lung, Indian one lung. No, Harley Davidson 74.
Well, I think we have a good interview for this time. I'd like to come out to your place and look at all the...
If you'll come out, I'll be glad to pull those files.
It's going to be a couple of weeks.
Well, if I'm here.
Okay. Thank you.